I mean, this is getting crazy, folks. What is the president doing? Arming al-Qaeda, changing the name to ISIL, ISIS, Islamic State to confuse people, and now he's going to get tough on them by arming the good rebels. That is them. That is so naked, so 2 + 2 = 5, so ridiculous. Of course we built our businesses. Of course raising the debt limit raises the debt limit. Of course they're coming after our guns. Of course the NSA is spying on us. I can hardly breathe. I'm having like an anxiety attack over this. This is incredible. When you know the players, you know the facts. And I was hoping Colonel Schaefer, who I know for a long time and who I trust, would come on and correct me. But instead, he came on and confirmed everything I already knew, and I wanted to throw up. Is it possible to arm non-radical rebels and have them kick al-Qaeda out? No.
Across the border in Syria, we have ramped up our military assistance to the Syrian opposition. Tonight, I call on Congress again to give us additional authorities and resources to train and equip these fighters. In the fight against ISIL, we cannot rely on an Assad regime that terrorizes its own people, a regime that will never regain the legitimacy it has lost. Instead, we must strengthen the opposition as the best counterweight to extremists like ISIL, while pursuing the political solution necessary to solve Syria's crisis once and for all. Third,
that's enough. Just shut him up. When you're informed, he's telling you that green is red, that white is black, that down is up, that left is right, that hot is cold. I mean, it's just the most bizarre, off-the-chart, over-the-top weirdness. I literally think I'm living in the Twilight Zone at this point. Islamic State is not Islamic. Boy, that's a whopper. We're not putting boots on the ground. The boots are already on the ground. NBC News was reporting they were already on the ground yesterday. AP's reporting publicly 1,000 are already there, and they're sending 475 more. There's the CIA with U.S. and NATO commandos and Qatari commandos for 4 years have been in eastern Syria, western Iraq, training the jihadis. And we know about it because our military, CIA pilots, NATO people. I mean, I have guests on that get subpoenaed by Congress. I mean, do you understand? We're really breaking reality here. We're not speculating. I've interviewed the people that offloaded the anti-tank and anti-helicopter missiles to al-Qaeda. I'm going to say that again. I mean, they're sitting there getting off. There's people with black flags laughing at them, saying, we're going to come kill you next. These people are so arrogant and crazy, folks. Narcissistic, just nutballs. On cartoon level, they're basically like hallucinating or something. That's how these al-Qaeda people act, is like people on drugs. They're that whacked out. And can you imagine our military has been told to go to secret bases in Jordan and Turkey? Turkey has given hundreds of times artillery support to al-Qaeda brigades infiltrating Syria. They go into secular people's houses and non-radical Muslim houses and Christian houses and line up the family and tell the father, get in this truck and drive it to the army checkpoint a mile away and blow it up, or we're going to kill your whole family. This has been in mainstream news. We've covered it. And when they say no, they take the littlest daughter and shoot him right in the head. And you know what the dad does every time? He goes, all right, and he gets in the truck, and he drives it right into the police and blows the whole thing up. And I'll be honest, that's the only way you could get me to do really evil stuff. If somebody had a gun to my daughter's head and said, you drive this truck of explosives, you know most suicide bombers have their kids held captive, right? I mean, you know that, right? You don't think these Islamic State people actually blow themselves up, do you? Most of the time, they're holding hostages. Other times, they go find weird, brainwashed goat farmers who don't even know what planet they're on, literally don't know where the U.S. is on maps. They've done studies, and Afghanistan's in place, who've grown up in dirt floor shacks on mountaintops. and they have them, they'll pay them $25,000, $50,000 to go blow themselves up. But why do you need to do that? You just go into a house down the street, you line up the family that just wants to live, and you say, I'm going to start shooting your kids one after another until you get in that truck and you drive it in there and blow that up. And you know whose houses they rob? This has come out in the news. Or they do that too? They'll go to a house that has a truck parked out front. Why do you think that? They'll load that truck knowing the driver knows how to drive the truck. They even get it down to that. They profile. I was reading an article where truck drivers in Afghanistan and Syria and places will park their truck down the street. You don't park your truck at your house because you know what happens? Your doors get kicked in at night and a bunch of crazy guys run in and they start raping your wife and daughters in front of you because, you know, they're allowed to because they're on a jihad. And because, you know, you don't have a big beard like they do, and, you know, you're a Shiite or you don't, or you're an Alawite or you're a Christian, and then they say, this is what's going on. And Obama is going to give billions of U.S. taxpayer money, not 500 million. You read the fine print, it's in the news. It's unlimited to these people. Let's go ahead and play the next clip. Obama vows no U.S. ground troops versus ISIS. Here is NBC reporter, boots already on the ground in Iraq. They are embedded with local fighters. This came out about 4 o'clock in the morning today, Infowars.com. And then after that, here came out at 9 o'clock, a few hours later. Obama to send 475 additional troops to Iraq to aid in the fight against ISIS. I'm going to say that again. When he said there wouldn't be troops, that means a huge escalation. Because what do you do to your enemy? You lie to your enemy. And who are the American people? And who are those troops going to fight? Oh, there are a bunch of other weird jihadi groups fighting against ISIS. So I guarantee you, our troops won't know who they're attacking. They'll be designated who to kill, who to bomb. It will be the enemies of ISIS. And then ISIS, working with Obama and the globalists publicly, will come out and say, how dare you bomb us, Obama? We will now blow up America because you do, and then laugh, working with Saudi Arabia. It is all theater. This is September 11th, 13 years later, the grand joke of paying al-Qaeda publicly. But here it is. Obama vows no ground troops versus ISIS or ISIL or whatever the name is this hour.
Now, it will take time to eradicate a cancer like ISIL. And any time we take military action, there are risks involved.
Oh, yeah.
Especially to the servicemen and women who carry out these missions. But I want the American people to understand how this effort will be different from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Oh.
It will not involve American combat troops fighting on foreign soil. This counterterrorism campaign will be waged through a steady, relentless effort to take out ISIL wherever they exist using our air power and our support for partners' forces on the ground. This strategy of taking out terrorists who threaten us while supporting partners on the front lines is one that we have successfully pursued in Yemen and Somalia for years.
Oh.
And it is consistent with the approach I outlined earlier this year.
And in
To
Libya.
use force against anyone who threatens America's core interests, but to mobilize partners wherever possible to address broader challenges to international
By the way,
order.
all lies. The Assad regime knows
My
this
fellow
is,
Americans,
knows that this is an attack on Syria, and then it will next be used to overthrow them. And the weapons being given to the rebels are to be used against Assad. This is U.S. advisors, weapons and air support inside Syria to topple Assad, period. And now the Russians are going to escalate. They're going to send in Russian troops, and they're already there. And you're going to have, just like you've got U.S. advisors and, quote, non-combat troops advising with the skirmish stuff going on in eastern Ukraine, you're now going to have, this is really about Russia, folks. This is our government using a jihad army against Russian interest. And I'm not lionizing Russia. I'm saying the criminals that run our country, the ones that gave us Obamacare and open borders and Fast and Furious in Benghazi, are messing with Russia. And there's an article out today out of the London Telegraph that says, do not mess with the Russian wolf. And it's an excellent story admitting that the West is bullying and trying to start a war with Russia, and Russia is not backing down, and so that it's escalating into a serious crisis. I have more clips. I have a report filed by our reporters on the ground in New York with a combat veteran who knows what he's talking about, former Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs of Iraq and Afghanistan, with the headline, Obama vows to fight ISIS by arming ISIS. This is Joe responding in New York City last night after he saw the speech. It's pretty powerful. It's coming up after the break. Then we've got a bunch of other news on the economy, on the environment. It's just, there's a lot of it, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, if I keep harping on this, it's because I'm pretty shook up by having Colonel Schaefer on, who fought al-Qaeda for a decade, actually took out a lot of their bases. And people say, well, wait a minute, I thought al-Qaeda works for the West. No, 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 no. They stir them up. They turn them loose like pudding, rattlesnakes in somebody's bed, okay? And then when they attack us, they take our rights. That's what I'm saying. And he was stopped from taking out al-Qaeda leadership, and I got him on yesterday, and he said everything I said in 5 minutes. That it's horrible to arm them. They will attack us. They're coming after us next. These are people that have killed our troops. We should join with Assad. See, that would be a moral position. And Rand Paul should articulate that. Basically say, okay, we were wrong to try to back these rebels against Assad. Admit we're wrong. But see, they're not wrong. They did it on purpose. We will now openly say that we'd like to help you, Assad, bomb the rebels, period, and drive them out of your country because you are 100 times better than al-Qaeda. And Christians could live in peace, and you were working with the West, and we used that to try to overthrow you and double-cross you. We stuck our hand out to shake your hand and tried to basically stab you in the heart. That policy was wrong, and so we want to help you destroy ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and they could stabilize the Middle East. That is not what they're going to do. They're going to break Syria and Iraq into a new country. They're going to break Iraq into 3 pieces. They're going to break Syria into at least 2 and take a piece of Syria and a piece of Iraq and put it together. That's been the plan the whole time. And they sit here talking to us like we're idiots. I'm going to say it again. This is not debatable. And Colonel Schaefer agreed with me. This is our government funding al-Qaeda to overthrow Syrian government. And the Syrian government knows that. They've not been consulted. And it's an act of war for U.S. aircraft to go in there and start bombing. And when Syria shoots at the airplanes, that's a total escalation. What are they supposed to do? You got air support for al-Qaeda coming in there. That's what it is.
Nascent iodine is so important because it goes directly to the thyroid. It's not bonded to a salt, which means it doesn't have to be broken down. And it's the most usable form. It's what the body uses. It's what the body is designed to use. If you have low energy levels, if you have pains, if you have thyroid problems, if you don't feel up to par, well, they've proven now that the fluoride and a lack of iodine causes a decreased IQ because you have all this stuff that builds up inside your system and builds up and builds up. And that's why some people, when they start taking iodine, will have what's called a Herxheimer reaction or a detoxification reaction. But that's a good sign. That means you're detoxifying all that fluoride buildup, the mercury buildup in there, the bromine buildup in your system, and the chlorine buildup in your system. You don't want those things. All of those things have been proven as carcinogens. That's one of the reasons prostate cancer is on the rise too, is because prostate takes up iodine, and the men that are lacking iodine causes the prostate to become cystic and causes the prostate to swell and eventually leads to prostate cancer. There's been an extreme rise in polycystic ovarian disease, PCOS, with women, fibrocystic breast disease, because iodine is stored in the breast tissue, the ovaries, the prostate glands in men. It's utilized by every single cell in the body.
Why does this almost taste good compared to other iodine that tastes horrible? That's because it's real iodine, atomic form.
We wanted something that's going to go straight into the bloodstream and straight into the thyroid gland. We wanted to put it in a vegetable glycerin base. That's a USP kosher certified vegetable glycerin base. And that product is not tested on animals. It's vegan friendly. It's gluten free. It's GMO free.
Of all the things I've done, Nascent Iodine was just absolutely amazing. So we developed with Dr. Group a double strength, low price. InfoWarsLife.com, Survival Shield, the Atomic Nascent Iodine, available right now.